Hi, this is needlepointers.com. Today I'd like to show you how to make these machine embroidered tote bags that hold little treats for St. Patty's Day. For this project you will need an embroidery machine, the design that you want to embroider on the bag. The designs I'm using are from Designs by Juju, and these designs are the Sweet St. Patrick's Day applique set. This set has 8 designs and comes in 4 sizes: 4x4, 5x7, 8x10, and 8x8. So it's pretty versatile and you'll be able to put it on all kinds of items. You'll need these small tote bags. These are 5.5 by 6 inch tote bags. They're pretty small. You'll also need some stabilizer, your hoop, scissors, a seam ripper, and some fabrics for the applique. So the first step to machine embroider on these little tiny tote bags is that you need to take one of the seams out so that you will be able to, well, you will have to take the one seam out because there is no seam on the other side. You take the seam out and then we'll open it up. You can then float it in the hoop, which I'll show you how to do, and embroider your design. So to open this up, I'm going to use my handy seam ripper. This is a mechanical one. You can use any kind of seam ripper that you have. I like the seam ripper a lot. It's pretty handy. It takes out the seams very quickly. It just, in the very beginning, it takes a little bit to get started. But once you get the seam started, it goes really quick. And I meant to also say, if you're looking for the design for this project or the supplies like these little bags and stuff you would need to make this project, please click the iCard or the link in the description of the video, and there will be step-by-step instructions along with pictures and links to where you can buy some supplies. So I've opened the seam up. Now I want to turn it so that the wrong side, so I have the wrong side here where I can get put it in the hoop. Next you will need to hoop your stabilizer. To find the center of your bag, just take the bag and fold it in half and put a nice crease in there. Next, you will want to figure out how you're going to place it on here. And this bag is pretty much the same size as my hoop. So I'm going to start it with the top of the bag right up against the top of the hoop. And I'm lining, this is my fold line right here, and I'm going to line my fold line up with the center mark on the hoop. And then on the back, down here, I'm going to also line the fold line up with the center line mark on the hoop. But to hold it on there, we need to spray it with spray adhesive. I use this box to spray in because you always end up with overspray, and that helps it from getting all over the place. I'm putting up towards me the side that I'm going to stick down in the hoop. And when you're doing this, you're going to want to have it hooped this direction so that the needle will move around in the hoop this way and you can push this out of the way. You don't want to do it this direction because then the sewing machine can't sew it properly. So put the side that's going to be stuck down up. Take your spray adhesive and spray. Go back to my hoop and line it up. Smooth it out nicely so that it sticks to the stabilizer. It's only really important to have it stick down long enough to do the first stitches, because once you get the first stitches down, then it will kind of hold it in place. So next we're ready to go to the sewing machine. You will load your pattern up onto your embroidery machine. This pattern I'm doing is a little rainbow with a hat. We will then put the hoop in to the machine. Now, because these bags are really small, you will need to make sure that you don't accidentally catch this part of the bag into the stitching while it's doing its thing. So you might have to pay more attention to this pattern than some patterns that you stitch out. The first several steps of the pattern will embroider the rainbow pieces and the clouds. We will be appliquing down different color fabric for each piece of the rainbow and the clouds. So I have loaded a white or neutral colored thread into my machine, so it will work for all the different ones. Your embroidery pattern will have separate steps for each one of these things, and there'll be colors associated with them, but you don't really need to use those colors when you're doing applique. You can just use one color and go through all these steps. I'm going to use this turning stick to help me hold the fabric back so that I don't get my fingers in there either. I don't want to get my fingers caught and sewed on. So I'm going to start the first stitch. And I'm using white thread, so you won't be able to see it, but in a second you will. When doing machine applique embroidery, usually the first stitch is showing you where to place your fabric. Then you lay your fabric on top, and then you stitch the next stitch, which will be very close to the same location as the first stitch. So this first stitch is the blue rainbow. So to do applique embroidery, you pick out your fabrics, and then cut a piece big enough to cover the whole area where it was stitched. So the stitching lines are going in this area. So I want to cover the whole thing past the stitches. Don't cut your fabric too small, because then it gets frustrating because you have to recut it. So the next stitch is going to stitch down this fabric. At this point we need to take the piece out of the sewing machine, and I use these little duckbill scissors to trim close to the edge all the way around here to get off all the excess blue. I'll be back in a minute after I've done. So as you can see, I've trimmed close to the cutting line. So you know, I have an actual tutorial on how to machine applique embroidery. If you go to that web page that I talked about earlier, there will be a link to that tutorial so that you can watch that in case you need some more clarity, or you want to watch another tutorial about that to get some more information. So I'm going to stitch the next stitch now, which is going to be the next piece of the rainbow. This next rainbow is green, so this is the green I'm going to use. I cover up, make sure I'm covering all of the stitching. stitch the next stitch to stitch it down. So next, again, I have to trim this fabric around. So there's a bunch of different rainbow and other things that need to be appliqued first. So I'm going to continue doing that, and I'll be back once I've gotten through all of those steps, since it will be a little bit boring for you to watch all of that. As you can see, I finished all of the rainbow pieces, and the next section to stitch is the clouds outline and the cloud fabric. So I wanted to show you how I make sure that the fabric from the tote bag doesn't get caught into it. So I'm using my stick to hold back the fabric. You need to make sure you're not inhibiting the movement of the actual arm. It came very close to catching over here, but it didn't catch it, so that's good. I'm going to applique the fabric down now on this piece. So you can see now I've appliqued all of the fabrics down in the hat, in the rainbow, and the two clouds. The next steps are going to do the satin stitches around all the different pieces of fabric to finish them. The first color it's going to do is the orange. And the embroidery is finished. Turned out really cute so far. So next we pop it out of the hoop and remove the stabilizer from the back. The last step to complete this project is to re-sew the seam on the side that we took out at the beginning. So thread your machine with matching color thread, and first just sew a seam down the side. And don't forget to backstitch at the beginning and the end. In order to make sure that the seam doesn't fray, because this fabric on this tote bag is easily frays, we want to do a zigzag stitch over the edge of the seam. So you have your needle hit on the fabric, and then it goes off the fabric, on the fabric, off the fabric. So it's over the edge. So that finishes off the seam, and we can turn the bags and see how they turn out. So our last step is to turn this. You can use my stick that I was using to hold back the fabric to poke out the corners. And you have a cute little bag. This bag will make a cute little bag for giving small gifts at St. Patty's Day or other holidays. This bag I was putting Swedish fish in, and this one for younger kids has colored pencils, colors and shapes cards, and a bubble wand. Perfect springtime things. I hope you enjoyed this project and make some for yourself. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest. Visit our website, needlepointers.com, for lots of other machine embroidery projects and tutorials.